Today on Coding 101, we are sorting with the sorting hat. But will you end up in the Slytherin Python house? We'll see.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust. This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Coding 101 is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Coding 101 is brought to you by lynda.com. Learn what you want, when you want, with access to over 2,400 high-quality online courses and training videos, all for one low monthly price. To try it free for 7 days, visit lynda.com/C101. That's lynda.com/C101.
Welcome to Coding 101. It's a Twitch show where we let you into the secrets of the code monkey.
Ooh,
I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
We're like magicians, and I'm Shannon Morse, and today we are going to get you all coded up on everything you need to know about Python to become a code warrior.
Right. Now, we do want to talk about this thing that you got to do in programming called a sort. It's a thing.
Ooh, a sort.
It's a sort. But you know what? Before we get to the sort, as always, it's time for some Snubs Compiled.
I'm scared of the sort. Should I be scared?
Yes. Be very, very afraid.
I actually think this might help me because last week I wanted to sort this stuff and I had no clue how to do it.
And now you will.
So let me show you my code on my computer. So I did this thing in idle where I just created a simple code that printed out people that are going to my wedding and whether they have replied yes or no. So it just lists them out. Shannon Morse has replied yes. Duh. My fiance has replied yes. I sure hope so. And then it goes down, officiant Tom, who is totally a real person, has replied yes. And then if they have not replied, it'll put in all caps like Daddy Morse has not replied. He better reply because he's walking me down the aisle. And then press enter to exit. So very simple, very easy to use. What I would love to do is get this to sort in alphabetical order or by yeses and by nos and then not replies down at the bottom. It would be so much easier.
Now,
so
let's
this
just,
is what I have.
Let's walk through that code, though, because your code's beautiful. Of course, the first line is, it's going to, yeah, I mean, that's because Dale's a code warrior. But you got the print of who has RSVP to my wedding as a yes or no. Then you've got the function that we showed people of bringing something in. You use text file open to open up a file, and then you read it into that list or that array. Now, you've got a for loop in there along with some if and else if statements that basically looks for yes, no, or not replied.
Exactly. That's exactly what I did. It looks specifically for the yes, and it will split the guest, the name of the guest, with this split function right here and then the little dash. Now, if I show you my text for the actual code, it simply has Shannon Morse dash yes and then a comma to separate each of the guests. So very simple, very easy to use.
Nice.
And can be very, very helpful if you're planning a wedding, apparently.
Well, as we said, these are all very basic programs, but the idea of bringing an external data source into your code is incredibly important. It's one of the fundamental things you have to do if you're going to be programming in the modern world.
It really is. Now, of course, as always, we do have a couple of our viewership codes that I wanted to show as well. So for this week, I had a couple of really good ones that I wanted to check out. So there's two that I wanted to show you examples of. The first one is called equations. So this is from, and let me look up his name real quick. This is from Daryl. So Daryl basically made an equation right here. So it takes all these different...
of him to spell it out.
So let me show you the text so this makes a little bit more sense. Okay, so he has these different equations, which are written out with a plus at the beginning. So it's 12.5 plus 24.3. And then it gives you the equation in the actual output over here. And it goes down and shows you each of them. He also included a couple of errors, so you can see what it would print out if it gave you an error.
Nice.
And like a subtraction, multiplication, plus division, and then down here we have a percentage. So 5, and then what is that? 5 divided by 3? Equals 2.
I like this because it's a basic list of you've got your operator, you've got the numbers on which it's going to perform the operation. It shows you exactly what it's pulling in, and it's going to show you the output.
I'll show you what it looks like in idle. Oops, wrong button. There we go. Okay, so we lost some notes. Again, thank you so much for including those, Daryl. And then if we scroll down, you'll see that he has a for loop in here. He has if statements, elif, which we learned about last week, and else. And then he has this cool one down here that says, try these, except this, else, and then another if.
Right, right. And that's
so
his,
weird.
That's his way of sanitizing it. So he tells you when you've got a value it did not expect.
Very cool. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Daryl. And the third one that I wanted to check out is from Gutemer. So he did a very simple one that shows you a bunch of different prime numbers. And if I look at his example and I bring up an idle and I show you the text document that he decided to bring over for this. Okay, so he has a whole bunch of numbers just written out, so very simple. And then, if you look at his code, he's basically taking these numbers and determining if they are a prime number and if they are not.
Oh, this is perfect because he's got that function that actually does the test. We know that a prime number is only divisible by itself and by 1.
Yes,
so basically what his is prime function does is it tests. It tests a couple of different parameters. So I think the first thing that I would do is I would test if it's divisible by 2. If it's divisible by 2 and it's not 2, it means it's not a prime number. And then there's a couple of other different tests that you could run mathematically to decide whether or not a number is a prime. He hard-coded that in to his program.
Pretty cool, huh? Then if we go back over here, so it makes a lot more sense now that you've seen the code.
Right.
So 8191 is a prime number. Prime, 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 prime. Let's see, the sum of all numbers in our file is, and then he gives you the sum of all of them, the largest number and the smallest number as well.
Fantastic.
Cool. Yeah.
Mod.
So thank you both for sharing. And of course, if you guys have any code that you want to share with us, you can always do that at our Google Plus community. And I believe we just got the actual Google Plus name for our community,
we did,
too.
And we're almost at 1,000. I'd say
we're
definitely by the end of
We're
this module,
so
we'll be at
close.
1,000. Yeah.
I'm so excited, too. I can't wait.
Oh, and by the way, so folks, we have been getting some emails from people who are like, well, where do we send you the code? Where can we upload the code? If the one place that it makes sense to put it is into the G Plus community. I'm sorry if you don't use G Plus, but it's too difficult to juggle all the different sources of code we may be getting. If you put it in the G Plus community, not only will we see it, but the other members of the Coding 101 community can see it, and they can vote up or down whether or not they want to see it on the show. That's just, one of the things that we do because we love you.
Oh, yeah. And we get so many good examples, so thank you to everybody who have been sharing those.
Absolutely. All right, so Shannon. I like this, but you know what else I like?
What's that?
I like knowledge.
Oh, I like knowledge too.
Knowledge is good, right?
You know where I've been getting a lot of my knowledge lately?
Where?
There's a website online where you can watch video tutorials about everything.
I have heard of this mythical website.
It's true. It's called lynda.com. And they have thousands and thousands of video courses made by professionals that will teach you everything from Java to motion design to graphics to photography. Gosh, what else? Python? I mean, if you think of it, they probably have a video on it. They basically have 2,400 high-quality online video courses from all these different types of genres. They offer things in software and creative and business skills. Whether you want to learn Python code or explore the foundations of programming, you can improve your photography. With lynda.com, with a subscription on there, members receive unlimited access to thousands of high-quality and engaging video tutorials across a wide variety of subjects. There's everything. So, do you want to build your first iOS app, but you're not a programmer quite yet? Of course, you're watching this show, but lynda.com has a new course called Programming for Non-Programmers, iOS 7, which will allow you to build your first iOS app in a single afternoon. You can learn the most important concepts in iOS and the app development process. By the end of the course, you'll have a finished app and a basic understanding of Xcode, and that's the tool set for developing iOS apps. You'll know the building blocks like variables and functions, conditional statements, and interface design.
We've taught all those things.
Yes, we have.
I love it.
I love it. I love it, love it. And you can find links to this course and many more over at lynda.com/C101. So personally, I've been using lynda.com for years.
Yeah.
Absolutely for years. Everything from just simply how to create my own Adobe PDFs that people can use to fill out their own forms, because it's a little complicated when you just open up the software. And there were video tutorials on how to do that on Lynda. And recently I've been using it for coding experience for Coding 101. Everything from Python to this really cool concept about iOS 7 and doing that for non-programmers. I love the fact that they have those 2,400 courses on there, and they're so much better than just videos made at home on YouTube. yes, those have their place, but these are so much better. They're taught by professionals who are passionate about teaching. They really want to get you excited about what you're learning. And you can do it whether you're a beginner or you're intermediate or you're advanced. So no matter where you are at in your tutorials, you'll be fine. And you can watch from your computer, your tablet, or your mobile device, especially if you're on the go all the time like I am. I commute a lot. Whether you have 15 minutes or 15 hours, gosh, I wish I had 15 hours to watch Linda.
I love some 15 hours.
Each course is structured so you can learn from start to finish. You can also search the transcripts to find quick answers and read along with the video. Lynda.com offers certificates of completion when you finish a course, which you can publish to your LinkedIn profile, which is great if you're a professional in the field. And it's only $25 a month for access to the entire Lynda.com course library. For $37.50 a month, you can subscribe to the premium plan, which includes exercise files that let you follow along with the instructor's project using the exact same project assets that they do. And you can try Lynda.com right now for free with a 7-day trial. Visit lynda.com/C101 to access the entire library. That's over 2,400 courses for free for 7 days. That's lynda.com/C101. And of course, we thank Lynda.com for their support. We love you guys.
Well, I mean, we love anyone who brings the knowledge, and Linda drops the knowledge on you like a bomb.
Like a bomb.
Like a bomb. Actually, I don't think they want to be associated with bombs.
Like a bomb.
Yeah.
Like a boss.
Like a sword.
Like a boss.
Like a boss sword.
Like a boss sword.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about
swords.
Yeah. Let's get away from bombs and bosses and let's talk about swords. Now, we like to give you some of the fundamental pieces of programming that you're going to need, right? Like, for example, variables, of course, and conditional operators, of course. And now we've taught you how to bring data into your program, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Here's the thing, though. One of the advantages of doing things in a computer, doing things in a programming language, is that computers are much better at reorganizing data than we are.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes me forever to sort anything, whether it's alphabetical or from smallest to largest.
Right. I mean, even if you're crazy savant good at sorting, a computer can just pile through the millions, billions, trillions of calculations that you need to sort a list, a data set, an external file of any size.
Exactly.
It's something that the human brain isn't, we're not great at doing, right?
Right.
So let's teach you how to do a simple sort. Now, when we talk about sorting, what we're talking about is letting loose your computer, using the power of a programming language to take a predetermined set of information and then running some sort of operation on it that will perform some sort of sort. Now, what do I mean? Well, how about this? Let's imagine I have a list of names.
Okay.
Okay, so I've got a list of names. Let's say it's like 26 names, like you do, right? For your registry, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's say I would really like for this to be in alphabetical order according to first name.
Yes.
Okay, so now I've take that list, which has the first names on it, right? And I need to somehow reorganize that list in order to make it alphabetical from A to Z.
Yeah, so how do you do it?
Well, if we were doing it in the real world, so if it was just here.
If I was doing it in the real world, I would look through the list and look for A, B, and C's and stick them over here, and then, T through Z and stick them over there, and then everything else in the middle.
Right, and then you just kind of, you randomly sort of put them where they're,
just kind of fit them in and
this
scoot
is
them over.
Agnes, but this one is Adam,
it's
so it does.
Trying to sort through all of your CDs and DVDs back in like the early 2000s and late 90s, and putting all that stuff in order.
Exactly, exactly. Well, here's the thing. Doing it in programming is almost exactly the same thing that you would do in the real world. Remember how we always talk about breaking down the real world into understandable chunks?
Yeah.
You do it the exact same way. The logic is the same, which is you just compare the values of each name that are relevant. So the first letter, the second letter, the third letter, whatever it may be. Yeah. And then you decide, does it go before or after this entry?
That makes sense.
Because ultimately, when we do a sort, we're always comparing two values.
Right.
Does this go before or after? Does this go before or after? Okay, so follow me on this logic. Let's say I have that list of names.
Okay.
The first thing I'd want to do is I would want to take something from that list and put it into like my sorted pile.
Okay.
And then I'd want to take another entry and compare it to the thing in the sorted pile and say, should this go before or after?
So let's take the first entry, which could be Shannon, and compare it to the second entry called Padre.
Right, exactly. And so we go, oh, well, does this go before or after according to the value that I want to sort it by?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, so let's say those two names are now in there. Let's take a third name, like Adam. And it's going to compare against both of the entries in that list to determine where it's going to be.
Right.
Right? So pretty simple calculations.
Yeah.
Now, but a computer can do it so much faster. All right.
Hey.
Now, let me show you how it actually works inside of a computer program. If you could show my product shot here, I decided to do this instead of the blackboard because people get upset with the blackboard. This, let's just say this is what my external list looks like. I just brought in a bunch of numbers, 1, 23, 6, 4, 99. Obviously not in numerical order.
Right.
But now what I want to do is I want to use computer logic to sort this. So like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is take the first entry, and I'm going to bring it over to the clean side. So this is my sorted side, right?
Okay, yeah.
Now I'm going to say, okay, I'm done with this. Now I'm going to go over to the second entry, and I'm going to bring it over, and I'm going to compare it to 1. I'm going to say, is it greater or less than 1? And it's greater than, so I'll drop it below.
Okay.
Then I'm going to go down to the next entry. I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to compare it 6 to 1. Is 6 greater than 1? Yes, it is. All right, so it moves down. Now it's going to compare to 23. Is 6 greater than 23? No, it's not. So what it will do is it will say, I'm going to copy this into the position where 23 was, and I'm going to move 23 down to a lower position.
Okay.
Take in the next number.
So then it does the same for 4.
It's going to do the same thing. So it's this, nope, boom. This is going to come in, it's going to compare against all the values, and it's going to end up at the bottom.
Okay.
That, using poker chips, is what a sort does. That's the basic methodology of what happens in your computer when you run a sorting algorithm.
And now I'm going to take these home and go gamble.
Well, no, you're going to take them for coupons. Coupons. So, I mean, that's not, I mean, it's really easy to understand, right?
Yeah, that's totally easy to understand.
Now,
but how do you put it into your code?
How do you put it in? That is the good question. Here's the fun thing. If I was working in a really basic language, I would actually have to program all the logic for that sort.
Right.
That's not that hard, but it's, you know, why do it? In Python, there's actually a sorting method. There's a sorting function. If you could go to my screen, what you see here is what's called the sort. So I've got a list. I've just created a list called Sort Me, and it's filled with those same numbers.
You
1,
named it Sort Me.
23, yeah, the sorting hat. 1, 23, 6, 4, and 99. And then I just used a for loop. For entries in range from 0 to 5, print sort me. So all I should do is just reprint that. 1, 23, 6, 4, 99. Then I put a pause. Then I did this. Sort me, which is the list. Remember, that's the list where all the numbers are.
Yes.
And I added that. That's all I have to do.
So that, let's see, period sort, the
that calls the method,
and the semicolon.
Yeah, it calls the method, the function called sort.
Okay.
And so what I'm doing in Python is I'm saying run the method called sort on the list called sort me.
Oh.
Okay. And then I do a print again. So if I run this program, what I get is something that looks like this. So 1, 23, 6, 4, 99. That's just that's what the list was.
Yeah.
Now remember, as soon as I hit this enter key, it's going to run the sort on the list.
It's going to run it again.
And now it puts it in order.
That's cool.
1, 4, 6, 23, 99.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Yeah. The cool thing about this, actually, is that actually in the frame? Yeah, the cool thing about this is all built in the Python. I didn't have to program anything. If you go back to my code here, it's going to show you that that's an integrated function. That is a built-in function with Python. And actually, you're going to see that in most advanced languages. They know that sort is such a basic lesson. It's such a basic function that they're going to include it in one way or another.
Okay, I see what you did. So you have the name of the thing with all of your different variables inside of the 2 brackets.
Right.
And then you included the, let's see, the range, which is 1 is 0, and then all the way up to 5, and 5 would be 99.
Right.
And it just sorts those, or it just prints out sort me, that range.
There you go.
Raw input, press enter, and then it sorts it into an actual 0 to 5.
Now, again, this is a basic program. So I hard-coded the list, but there's no reason why I couldn't use, say, that external text file, right?
Yeah.
So there were some people who were just throwing a bunch of numbers at me. Well, yeah, make a text file filled with numbers separated by commas, import them into your program, open up that text file, get them into a list, and then you can sort it.
That's awesome.
And then output it back to file.
This is perfect for me. This is going to save me so much time.
Right. And remember,
I can't wait to use it.
Here's the cool thing. When it's small like this, we're almost saying, well, you just did it on the table.
But when you have 150 guests going to your wedding, you kind of got to put them into some kind of list that makes sense.
Precisely. And that's why we think sorting is not just useful to know, but it's absolutely vital.
Oh, yeah, it totally is. I'm super excited to use this.
Yes. Actually, you know what? Don't we have someone that we could talk to who could maybe show us how to use this in a more advanced way than just sorting a couple of numbers?
I have a feeling we have somebody on the line named Dale.
Dale, coming, our code warrior. Yay. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dale Chase from Discovery Digital Networks. He is a programmer, he is an artiste, he is our code warrior.
Hello, sir.
What's going on? I am in the house. How you guys doing?
Yeah, he's in the house.
We're sorted.
We're doing great. Thank you.
Word. So, we're actually going to be getting into some YouTube API stuff and sorting some results and printing out video titles and links.
Oh boy.
Now for the folks at home, for the folks at home who are getting freaked out, it is a little bit freaky, but don't worry, because what Dale is actually going to be doing is he's going to show us how to use an API. It's a way to link in to services like YouTube. In fact, there's a lot of services on the internet that use an API. You start with an API key that allows you to access their service, to both pull and push data to them. What he's going to show you how to do is to use that within Python so you can start pulling not just from an external file that you've created, but from YouTube itself.
I'm using one of their calls. It's just their basic query search call that doesn't really require any authentication, but you do need an API key. You're essentially registered with them to use the service.
Now, we're not going to show them your API key because that would be bad.
No, actually, so I've got my API key hidden in an external text file, which I am pulling in and using as a variable here, API key.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so let's just take it from the top. So I'm importing a few modules here to do the HTTP request to YouTube. I'm using URL lib, which is a module that really I'm just grabbing for one function so I can URL encode the user input because it's a GET request, which means it's going to go into the address bar. And so those things that go into the address bar need to, like non-word characters like exclamation marks, commas, that sort of thing, need to be converted into characters that will play well in the address bar. I believe it's called, what, Unicode encoding? Unicode, Padre? I'm like, forgetting, so I'm using URL lib 2 to actually make the HTTP request. It gives me access to a function called URL open, and then I'm importing JSON, which is sort of like another version of XML almost. It's just a way to kind of transport, information, large amounts of data, different kinds of data, from one place to another in a nice collection a nice object that you can then access things out of later. So the responses that we get from YouTube will be in JSON. So I need this module to decode it and then work with what I get back.
Oh, okay.
So the next line here is me grabbing my API key from a text file, assigning it to this variable, then using the same variable after I read the text file. I'm just using API key again, just because I'm not very imaginative when it comes to API key variables. Yeah. Then I'm getting user input to search for the video and assigning that to a variable called search term.
And they could type in anything that they want there as far as the videos are concerned? Okay.
Yep, totally. Because the next line, I'm going to use URL lib's quote plus function to URL encode their input so that it's safe to use in the next line.
I'm a little confused by that.
Okay, so let's say, when you put in your search, you're using non-letter characters, like you're using exclamation marks or ampersands or anything like that. If you put an ampersand in the address bar, it'll think that it's reached the end of, an argument that you need. You know how you see ampersands and question marks in the address?
Yes.
Those are, get variables that you're then submitting to the website so it can get the information it wants to do, that it needs to do what it wants to do.
You see that all the time on YouTube.
Yes,
you can actually remove everything after the ampersand normally, because all it's doing is adding extra arguments to whatever search you did.
Yeah, I've done that before and I was kind of surprised that it just gave me the same website.
Go figure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll actually get into a little bit of that too. So you've got your URL encoded input now. So now I'm creating essentially the URL that's going to be the request. So I've got the Google API's domain, YouTube v3, which is the version 3 of the YouTube API. And then so here's their call, which is search. And a requirement for their call is this thing called part, which I'm setting to snippet, which means I'm going to get back what they're calling their main sort of metadata chunk snippet. So I need to set my part to snippet so I can get that. That's the information that I want back.
And I should note that Brian, if you go ahead and go to my screen, when he's pulling this code, it's actually it's based off of commands that you. Oh, I should probably close your key. We're pulling from commands that that are listed in the YouTube API. If you search for the YouTube API version 3, they will give you all the commands that you can pull in that API.
Yes. Actually, I happen to have it open here, or I did. Yeah, this is it right here, actually. Here is their thing here. Here's the reference. Yep. And here is a list of their categories of calls, and I'm actually using the search list call.
Oh, wow.
And don't freak out about this, because we've actually been doing calls. Every time you call a function or a method in Python or C#, you're actually doing a call. All that's different about this is we're calling to a remote server. We're calling to a different system. It's actually not running locally.
That's cool. I like it.
All right. So so the next line, actually, let me just go a little further down. So here's that ampersand I was telling you about. So this separates. Oh, no, sorry. First, so I've got Q equals here, which is Q is the required argument here. I guess Q is for query.
Right.
So the query equals search term. So that's what you entered. So it's now going to use what you entered for the search. And then I'm just tacking on here my API key so they know it's me and I'm allowed to make this call.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
So the next line is the response. So this call, well, this is the URL lib2 URL open function that actually makes the call to YouTube. And then I'm getting their response and putting it in a variable called response. I then take that response, which is a JSON object, and I use this JSON function to essentially decode it so that I can now work with it.
Right. You know, we've actually got a good question in the chat from M5 who wants to know, well, how do we know the API calls are in Python, or is that not a concern? It isn't a concern because, and this is the beauty of functions, and this is the beauty of calls and APIs. All that happens when I make a call to an API is I have, just like in Python, the name of the function and then the parameters I want to pass it. Oh. Those go over to the API and it returns me whatever value it's supposed to return me. So it really doesn't matter what language I'm programming in. If the API is working like a call should work, I just send it data and it gives me data back that it processed on its side. I don't have to care what kind of coding they're running on the remote side.
That's right. As long as you can do an HTTP request, that's all that matters.
It's all good.
Yeah. And so I'm declaring my list here. I'm calling it video metadata. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm going to do a little bit of a for loop where I cycle through my response. I should probably just show you what this looks like really quick, the actual response from YouTube.
Do it.
Yeah, so let's actually just use this right real quick. I'm going to go down. They have actually a way to play around with their APIs right there on the site. And since this is a call that doesn't need any authentication, I'm not going to go through the auth2 process. I'm just going to simply pop in snippet and then scroll all the way down to query. And I'm going to type in Peter Capaldi. And just scroll all the way down to execute. And so
and by the way, that's an awesome. We're going to make sure to put that the link for this page into our show notes, because this does give you all the different arguments, all the different calls that you can make to the API.
Yeah.
And so here's my response.
There we go. So once you've made the call, this right here that we're seeing on the screen, this is the data that actually comes back from YouTube.
Yeah, this is a JSON response, and so as you can see, there's some information here, some stuff that doesn't really make much sense to most folks, but then the total results. There are really 142,000 videos about Peter Capaldi.
You're right.
That can't be right.
No, that's about right. The new Doctor Who, he got crazy popular.
So, all right. So what you'll see in my code is I make a reference to items here, and then that's pretty much this. So within items is an array of items, which is the metadata for the various videos. So I go into items, and then I will pick out my snippet. I'll check out what the kind is, the ID, and then the video ID for the YouTube video. So this is what you see in your URL when you actually are on the YouTube videos. So I will use this information now to loop through and give you the response that I want to give you. Now, so what I do,
folks, so right now I know there's some people who are freaking out. They're thinking this is way too complicated. Let me bring you down just a little bit. This is really, when you get down to it, no more complicated than the functions that we created to pull data from an external file and do the sort. So the thing that we just did with the sort, that's essentially all he's doing. The only difference is the amount of data that he's pulling and where he's pulling it from. All we need to do, once we get that data back from the YouTube API, is search for the particular pieces of string, the little particular pieces of information that we need to be able to sort, that we need to be able to then do something useful with YouTube. So I know you're freaking out, but seriously, look at the code, relax, and just realize it's actually not that bad.
It's not?
It's really not. I'm serious. I'm serious. I'll guide you through it. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue. Sorry.
We're almost there. So the first thing I'm doing is so I'm going for videos items for video in videos items. So what I was showing you before, I'm looking inside of items in the response, because that's what I'm concerned with. Though that's where the video data is, and that's that's the array of data there. So for each item in there is going to be a video, and so now I'm going if video ID kind is YouTube video.
Oh.
And I'm making this distinction because actually for me, since I was logged in as I was authenticated and logged in as myself, if I did a search for myself, one of the responses would actually be my channel information, which would break the code. That's a little further down. So I wanted to make the distinction to make sure that the item that I'm looking at is a video. So that's what this line is for. And so then I go video metadata dot append video snippet title. So now I'm getting the title of the video and putting it into my list.
There you go. And see, we've done this. So I know this, it's really complicated, but so back up. And all he's doing with that if statement is he's making sure, again, this is, remember we talked about sanitizing. He's sanitizing the incoming data from YouTube and saying, I only want things that are actually videos.
YouTube videos.
So he's looking at the ID and the kind, which is information that was returned, and saying, if it matches YouTube videos, then I know that information has to deal with a YouTube video.
And then he wants to stick it in his list.
Stick it in the list.
Type out the title.
And we've done that, right? We know how to put information into lists.
That's cool.
All right.
Oh, I get it.
So we had a little freak out. We had to calm the freak.
So I started out just doing titles, and then I said, oh, you know what? It would be nice to have the actual link too.
Oh yeah,
so
that's a good point.
Yeah, so I kind of just tacked it on, and so that's why I've got this /n for a new line, and then I'm kind of building the URL. So I put in http:/youtube.com/watch. V equals, this is what you see in the address bar.
Yeah.
and I essentially build the URL, and so then I tack on video ID.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so and remember, we've done that before. He's just appending little pieces of data he already has on the list. He knows that every single thing that he wants to send back to YouTube is going to start with http youtube.com watch. What's unique is what comes after, and it's coming out of the list that he created.
Right, okay.
That's right. And then I sort it by, I sort it alphabetically, essentially because I sort it by the title, because that's what appears first.
Right.
How cool.
And we just showed the audience how to do that. So that stuff I'm serious. I know people are going to freak out. That stuff in the middle, it looks crazy scary. It really isn't. Because all it is data.
I think it mostly looks scary because we're not familiar with YouTube's APIs and things like that.
Right. But if you were to think of all that code as just a way to open up an external file, it works almost exactly the same way. Dale's doing a little bit of sanitization of the data that's coming back to make sure he's only pulling out the chunks of data that he thinks is important. But it really is no difference than just getting a stream of external data.
And and that's pretty much it. And then I kind of print out the search results. I loop through video metadata for metadata in video metadata. And then I print metadata, and then I just add this /n just to kind of give things some nice spacing. That's what these /n's are for. That Python sees those, and they just create an extra new line space. Right. Essentially, it's like a carriage return, or the BR tag in HTML.
So can you run this?
Let's run this.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do this.
Yes.
All right. So search for a video. Let's do Peter Capaldi.
Oh, do you want 145,000?
No, actually, by default, the API will only this call will only return 5 results by default.
Right.
I can add another argument to make my max results, I think, 50 per call.
Right. And that's just on YouTube side because they don't want one person just completely taxing their server by making crazy calls with 1 million results.
Yes. Which I do every day anyway.
Let's find a way around it.
So here we go. So search for video, Peter Capaldi, and there you go.
Cool.
You've got them alphabet. This is, I guess, showing up first because of the asterisks.
Asterisk, yeah.
Yeah.
Craig D.
And here we go. Here are the links that are generated here.
Nice. And that's it. That's exactly what we. So again. You took you brought in some external data, you sorted it the way that you wanted it, and you presented it in a format that people can understand.
I can see ways where this would be very handy as a podcaster, using the YouTube API to track our YouTube videos.
And beyond that, I mean, so if we wanted to get kind of, I'm not going to call it gray hat, but it's kind of morally questionable. People use APIs like this all the time to scrape information off of services. And it's exactly what we did. You would just write a function that would keep hitting the API and just keep getting more and more data, more and more of the records until you had all the information that you wanted. So, this is a fundamental part of programming. It's an incredibly useful tool. I will say this, if you're going to practice this, and I hope you do, you will have to get your own API key. Either that or, Brian, if you could go to my screen, go ahead and use this API key. It'll work just fine. No, but seriously, go to YouTube, get yourself an API key, and practice. You can take Dale's code, put your API key into it, and just make it work. Snubs, and I think you can agree with me on this, once you make it work with Dale's code, start tweaking it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you see if you could sort it a different way. Why not get a few more records?
Get a few hacks, get them in trouble with YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this.
Dale, thank you for this. I mean, this is the sort of stuff that it's difficult to digest at first, but I think we've just given our code monkeys an incredible resource.
It's hard to understand that code. It is very hard to understand. The imports and then the stuff integrating YouTube into it, but I'm brave. And I will try my best to make it work. And then when I get frustrated, I'll call Dale.
Yeah. And I have to say, I'm glad that you chose YouTube, Dale, because there are, as Patrick Delahanty notes, there are a lot of APIs that are not well documented. And you just basically have to keep pounding on them until you find out what kind of data they return. YouTube's actually pretty well documented.
It depends on what you're trying to do.
Well, for our people who just want to just pull basic data out of it, it should work just fine.
Yeah, I mean, their library, they have libraries for PHP and Java, and I believe I think in Python as well. Yeah, and like some of the stuff is better documented than the others, but totally, it's a lot of fun to play around with, though.
All right. Now, Dale, now that you've kind of blown minds, where do you think we're going to go next week?
Can we go farther?
I don't know.
I think we may need to pull back a tiny bit and let people's brains recuperate a little bit. So maybe we need to combine some of the lessons we've already got.
Well, I know I want to do some sorting.
To sort, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And maybe to output to a file, because we've already read from a file. Well, I think we need to be able to push back out, yeah?
That's cool. Brilliant.
Yeah. Let's do that. So now you've got the circle will be complete.
Circle of code.
Dale Chase, Discovery Digital Networks, thank you so very much for being our code warrior. Sir, it is always great to have you on each and every single week. And now that you've done some brain explodage, I think your reputation as a legendary code warrior is cemented.
Awesome.
It was already there.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You take care. I'll see you next week.
Oh, where can we find him?
Duh. I'm sorry. Wait, hold a bit. Wait. Hey, Brian, can you cue up my jam?
We should probably mention where we can find Mr. Dale Chase.
Thank you for that. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, if you like the Doctor Who, Dale, you are not just a programmer, you're an artiste. Tell us a little bit about your art.
Yeah, I make mostly geek-centric hip-hop music, some sort of jazzy-infused, smooth type raps that talk about geek culture. Like, as you see, I've got like a Who's Your Doctor jam. Yeah, hacker enthusiast, coding warrior, so all that stuff is in there. Just check it out at dchase.bandcamp.com.
Yeah, seriously, folks, get over there, get some of his music. It's not just fun to listen to. It's actually really, really good.
It is, and he gets some great guests to sing with him.
The audio listeners are going, what's going on? Again, Dale Chase, thank you, and thank you.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Now, I know that was a lot. I know that we really kind of hit our audience a little bit. But you know what's good? We've got show notes.
Oh, I was going to say Rice Krispie treats, but those are good too.
Those are good too, yes. But right now, I think we do need the show notes more than the sugar.
Yeah, like crazy. So we have our GitHub link as well as all of our show notes. You can find those at twit.tv/C101 or /code.
They both work. Also, don't forget that we're also on iTunes, and we're actually still doing really well.
Yeah, we are, surprisingly.
I don't know what's going on.
People watch us on iTunes.
Spread the word. Tell people about Coding 101. Tell them that, you know what, we're a little bit different. We like to give people code. We like to give them learning, but we also want to have a little bit of fun. So we're giving you the stuff that lets you geek out. I have a project
for you guys today. Share this show with one of your friends. Just one.
Just one.
Yeah, just share it with one friend.
And post it on G+, and then we'll send you stickers.
Oh, that's a good idea. Do we have stickers? We should get stickers made.
We do.
Let's do stickers.
Let's do stickers. Oh, actually, yeah, we should do. Okay, yes. Okay.
Okay.
New project. Stickers.
We'll talk later.
Yeah.
We're also on YouTube, of course, so you could try this. You could try this code on our shows and put those in order from Coding 101 #1 down to number. What are we on? 15.
15.
Oh my goodness, 15 episodes already, and those are over at youtube.com/twit coding101.
That's right. Also, we've got a crazy, vibrant G+ community.
We do.
It's about what are we up to? 900? Yeah, 900 and some members. We're almost at 1,000.
Thank you so much for joining us there.
And these are crazy active members. If you go to our G+ community, you can post questions. You can post your code, which Shannon will then bring onto the show.
Yes,
in other words, if you want to know anything about programming, you got to join us. Be part of the Coding 101 army by going to plus.google/twit coding 101.
plus.google.com/twit coding 101.
Do it now.
That's how you get there.
Yeah.
And just send your examples to me and I'll show them off.
Now, if you're not into the G+ groove, I think you can also find...
We're on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter all the time, talking about everything from weddings to couponing to code.
I'm mostly talking about code.
Yeah,
it's kind of scary. But you can find me at twitter.com/, that's right, PadreSJ. That's at PadreSJ.
And I am at Snubs.
And finally, you know, we actually do this show live. We're live right now. This is the real world. If you can find us on Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, and as long as you're there, you're freaking Snubs out. You can also join us in the chat room at irc.twit.tv.
Are people listening to us?
They are. I know, right?
Hello.
It's kind of weird stuff.
Is that why we wear these things?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Actually, mine's not connected to anything. Yeah. But until next time, I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
I'm Shannon Morse.
End of line.
look at my face. Uh-oh.
Time vortex.
I wish I had a TARDIS.
I would time travel the heck out of that thing.
Space.
Time and relative dimension in...
Is this like a preset in the TriCaster?
No, he's bumping.
Really
He's
cool.
bumping it.